Hey, what's going on? So I was at When We Were Young 2024 a couple of weeks ago. Today I wanted to talk about the bands that I saw and some standout performances from some of those bands. When We Were Young is a music festival that's usually held in Vegas. It's been gone on for a couple of years now. I caught it this year, and it's essentially a who's who of like late 90s to mid 2010s, pop, punk, and emo bands. It's a great time. Huge nostalgia factor. Here's a list of everybody who played. I'm throwing that up on the screen now. So I definitely wasn't able to see everybody. I was only there on the second day on Sunday. Here is everybody I was able to see. Simple Plan, Census Fail. I was able to see Taking Back Sunday, The Used, Newfound Glory, Pierce the Veil, Chiodos, Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance. I didn't get to see a whole lot, but I saw a good chunk of bands, and I wanted to talk about a few of them who just really kind of knocked me out. I was just like, oh my god, this is a surprisingly amazing performance. First one I want to talk about is Simple Plan. They just killed it. They just killed it. I was not expecting this. Simple Plan is one of those bands that you don't really expect a phenomenal live show for, or to sound really, really tight and really, really good. They sounded just like the album. Not in oh yeah, they sounded just seriously. They were super tight. They had a ton of stage presence. The frontman was just doing his job like it was nobody else's business. He was interacting with everybody. There was a ton of people there, and they played the entire thing, right? The whole conceit of the festival was that the bands were going to play through an entire classic album of theirs. Some bands were like, cool. Other bands were like, nah, that kind of went over as well as you expect. Simple Plan, I believe, went through most of their, what is it? No pads, no helmets, just balls. 2001. That was my jam in 2001. I was 11. Yeah, man, I'm just a kid. That hit, that resonated when you're that age. It does. I think there's a reason why it's coming back like that. I talk about that a little bit more in that other video. You should check that out. That's not out yet. It's going to come out, though. Really solid show by Simple Plan. There was a new Scooby-Doo cartoon, and they did the theme song for it, so they played that at their set, at the end of their set, and a bunch of people in Scooby-Doo costumes came out on stage. I'll see if I can get some footage of it. And apparently, the people in those Scooby-Doo costumes were members of other bands. That's just, good, wholesome fun. Really, really awesome. And that wholesomeness really pervaded the crowd. Just everyone was having a good time. There's a few, normal show kind of bullshit that always happens. Someone's a little too drunk. People are a little inconsiderate of people's personal space. It's just show stuff. It's show stuff. You can't kind of fault it for being a show. But the energy itself was all very chill and very wholesome in that sense. And it was just really cool. I was extremely surprised at A, how much I enjoyed their set, and B, how much nostalgia it brought me. And I was like, oh my god, my inner middle schooler is feeling great right now. I'm feeling whole and accepted, and that's awesome. But yeah, you can tell that they just are great at their craft and really put in the time to be that good at performing live and sounding just like the album. Really good job, Simple Plan. That was number 3. Number 2 is My Chemical Romance. They are one of my favorite bands ever, so I'm super biased here. They played through all of the Black Parade, and then they played a couple of other songs. They almost always send off with Helena. They've done that the last time I saw them, and it's a long and good night. It's great. It's perfect for that. If it weren't for their energy being a little bit off in the beginning, particularly Gerard's voice was not quite warmed up at the beginning, but his vocal parts are kind of crazy as it is, so I don't necessarily fault him there. As soon as I hit their stride, everything was great. Just the energy was a little bit lower, but all in all, I absolutely had a great time and sang along the entire freaking set, basically. So yeah, MCR. Always a win in my book. They did great. They are angels. Any honorable mentions? Yeah, absolutely. I think Fall Out Boy puts out a really good show. That's an honorable mention. I've seen them before on the same tour, actually. They basically just did that same set. It was a good time. A little too many pyrotechnics for me. There's a point where the bassist is coming out and there's a flamethrower. Why can't I say this? And there's a flamethrower just strapped to the neck of the bass, and on some of the big hits just is coming out, and you can see it on his face. He's kind of terrified, rightfully so, appropriately so. Absolutely terrifying thing to do. Just flames coming out. It's metal as hell, but also not necessarily what I would expect from Fall Out Boy. Newfound Glory, they really kicked it. They made a really good show of it. They sounded really fantastic. What album they played through? Let's Fall Out Boy did not play through one of their albums. They just played their regular set from the tour that they're on. Sticks and Stones. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one that went platinum. Cool. 2 shout outs right there. Fall Out Boy and Newfound Glory. And my number one spot that I just like completely blew me away and made me like, God damn, like this is an obscenely good show was Chiodos. Yeah, man. They played through All's Well That Ends Well. They didn't get through every single song. They did like kind of the highlights, especially my two favorite songs they played. There's No Penguins in Alaska and All Nereids Beware. Those are my two favorite songs. They played them, so I'm a happy boy. And they played them oh so perfectly. Craig Owens was back on vocals. He did a really phenomenal job. Just a really knockout performance from him. His vocal timbre was so on point, and his energy as a frontman was just what's the word? Intense. Dude was intense. Dude was throwing out looks like he was about to sacrifice something to the gods if people didn't mosh hard enough. And, you know, he gave them the goods. Mosh, please. And they did. The moshing happened. It was great. Solid, amazing performance. Honestly, sounded better than the album to me because the energy of the band as it was coming through, really, really solid, really, really tight performance. It just blew me away. Any other feelings about some of the bands I saw? I do have to say that Taking Back Sunday, they played well. It was a little unfortunate though. The singer, he doesn't seem to be singing as well as he used to. I'm not as big a fan of them as I am as Chiodos or My Chemical Romance. But my partner is a huge fan of Taking Back Sunday, and she was kind of sad. That sucks, but you know what? They're pretty punk rock, and you know the most punk rock thing a singer can do is to not take care of their voice. So he's living it. He's freaking living the DIY punk. I don't give a crap nihilism thing. So good if that is his whole deal. Good for him. He's doing it. If not, then I hope he takes care of his voice a little bit better. And you can play some more shows with your buddies. Now, the only two I haven't talked about yet, Senses Fail and Pierce the Veil. Honestly, I didn't know their stuff well enough to give them as insightful of an opinion, but they played really well. And like objectively, they played really, really well. I dig their style. I'm surprised I wasn't more into these guys actually when I was younger. My Chemical Romance or Fall Out Boy, I understand why I wouldn't have been into them because it was just a little bit out of my wheelhouse then. I was just super into thrash. I was super into, metalcore, and I was doing some heavy stuff and some shreddy stuff, some heavy shreddy stuff at the time. That's really what I was focusing on, which, I still love. I still love to do that, but, it's not all about that. That's what I got. That's what I got for you. So those are the bands I was able to see at when we were young, 2024. It was a really fantastic experience, and I'm going to go over a little bit more about sort of the emotional journey I had getting into some of these bands later in life in the video that's coming out right after this. So hit the subscribe button to stick around and get notified when that happens. You got to do the bell thing if you want to do that. But yeah. If you're an aspiring or a budding or a very frustrated intermediate guitarist who's, looking to play some of your favorite tunes, especially in the rock, punk, and metal genres, I still got some spots open on my roster. So go and check out my free training, How to Master Any Guitar Riff and Play at the Level of Your Favorite Artists, to get a kind of look-see about what I got going on, and maybe we can take it from there. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and Scooby-Doo.